I pop up. What's good? What's good, YouTube? Back with another video. Every rapper who has beef with Drake right now. Let's get into it.
Now, for the first time in decades, competition is driving hip-hop forward, and when it comes to the artist who seems to be at the center of all the beef brewing in the genre, nobody's catching more heat than Drake. Whether it's longtime friendships that have turned into bitter rivalries, or some of the best rappers alive coming at him in full force,
Future and Drake beef really hurts.
Some of the most important players in the rap world have turned on Drake, and when you understand why, it's hard to even fault them. Now, when you look at the very nature of both Drake's personality and his music, he has filled all of his albums, especially recent records like Her Loss, For All the Dogs, and Scary Hours 3, with subliminal disses aimed at so many different artists, and with many of the rappers coming at Drake now merely responding to the taunts that the OVO rapper has been throwing their way for years at this point. Many MCs are only accepting the challenge of taking him down, and when it comes to this, nobody has filled this role better than the one and only Kendrick Lamar, who has had the entire rap world frozen ever since he dropped.
Yeah. I'm making a YouTube vid right now, but I'm finna call you after the YouTube vid and show you my stuff. Look at this. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna show you. Love you.
One of the most insane verses the genre has heard in years, with his feature on the chart-topping song Like That, and with this show stealing feature targeting Drake directly. Considering the stature and skill Kendrick possesses, this is by far the biggest challenge Drake has ever had to face in his career, as Lamar has asserted dominance over him in every sense of the word. Now, while tensions between these two have never been higher than right at this very moment,
we can't act like Drake ain't that nigga, bro.
Disses at one another.
Hold it down. We're not gonna act like Drake ain't that nigga that didn't put this nigga on, bro. Like,
for over a decade, but after years of tiptoeing around one another, especially on Drake's end as of recent, Kendrick decided to escalate these tensions to an all-time high, with bars where he doesn't just say that he and Drake don't belong in the same conversation because he's so much better than him, but he goes as far to call Drake an illegitimate artist through some of the craziest lyrical violations I've ever heard. Now, as Like That has sat at the top of the Billboard Hot 100 for multiple weeks, the balls are really
or big OVO around here. I don't know if I gotta keep saying it, bro, but all that dissing shit, bro, like,
in Drake's court now to respond to Kendrick Lamar's career-altering challenge at this point, and while this Kendrick Lamar verse has put him in the middle of an entire battle with Drake, what's even crazier about this situation is that it was none other than one of Drake's closest collaborators in the past, in Future, who used the verse on his new album, We Don't Trust You, and despite how many #1s and legendary moments this once iconic duo racked up, right alongside Kendrick, Future stands as Drake's biggest rival, as he hasn't just turned on him, but he has caused what seems like the entire
ultra betrayal. This nigga done brought, like, he done backs down like the damn fucking Congress did
entire genre to follow in his footsteps. Now, when it comes to Future and Drake's beef, with it being subtly referenced by Future that the two's close friendship could have possibly been destroyed over a girl, while we don't actually fully know what has happened between the two, what we do know is that the tension between them goes all the way back to 2022, and specifically when Drake released Her Loss with 21 Savage. Although Future may have been the one to really put this beef in the center of the public eye, as we look back at Drake's recent output, we can see that he himself has been subtly taunting Future for quite some time, with a track like What Would Pluto Do on For All the Dogs being a prime example of this, and just like Kendrick, Future got sick of all the subtle jabs and decided to just unleash sheer and utter havoc on him, as his new album isn't just filled with songs and lines that seemingly address his falling out with Drake, but in addition, from Kendrick Lamar to many of the other rappers featured on the album, beyond just standing against Drake, Future has formed an entire coalition of artists who seem to have the same stance as him. So with this, it really seems like Future's playing a game of chess against Drake of some sort, and right alongside Hendrix. Beyond the realm of rappers, it seems like the strong disdain that Future has expressed so freely about Drake was perpetrated by the face of modern hip-hop production, Metro Boomin, who has had some public tensions with Drake for quite
Metro been tweeting a little too much though, bro. He gotta tone it down a little bit, bro.
Some time, and while leaving him off his 2022 album Heroes and Villains, and throwing subs at him on social media really escalated this feud. Metro and Future teaming up on We Don't Trust You has really blown it up, as right alongside all the subliminal disses that Future threw out at Drake, Metro's production has served to echo all of these same sentiments and create a problem for Drake that he has no choice but to acknowledge. Now with Metro boomin', despite being a producer, he has been able to escalate this beef with his skills behind the board in a way that most of his contemporaries could never. From the sinister sound of the album, which really gives the anti-Drake performances the intensity and stature that they need, to the vocal interludes on the album that feature legendary MC and Mobb Deep member Prodigy talking about whack rappers, Metro was able to tell Drake that they are not just at odds, but that they are full-blown enemies without even saying a single word. And when you understand this, it's really insane to see, and while we don't know what has caused such a divide between Drake and two of his most frequent collaborators in its totality, we do know that both Metro and Future are determined to stand their ground against him, and beyond just the hip-hop world, this feud was escalated even more as Metro featured one of Drake's most iconic enemies on We Don't Trust You with The Weeknd, and while his feature on the track Young Metro
this nigga got beef with The Weeknd, bro. I gotta do my damn Drake lore update,
just haunts the atmosphere of the cut with some faint vocals. By just having the sheer presence of another artist who has been known for despising Drake goes to show just how serious this beef really is.
I didn't even know he despised
While with
Drake.
all this recent tension, looking at all the facts makes it not much of a surprise that Future and Metro are coming at Drake. What is a huge shock is that now it looks like none other than Travis Scott may be beefing with Drake as well, and
Travis,
despite
what the hell
this
are you
dude giving us some
for?
iconic collaborations over the years, it seems like Travis has chose the side of Future and Metro Boomin in this feud by not just appearing on multiple tracks off their new album, but during their 2024 Rolling Loud LA performance where Travis came out as a special guest. He urged Metro to play the crowd the Kendrick Lamar supported Drake diss like that, which implies that Travis knew about the storm of attacks that were coming Drake's way and just didn't care. Now, on Drake's end of things, while some people think he has waged a full-fledged war on Travis Scott after pretending to fire at the giant face of Travis during a show at his Big Is The What tour, he's been doing this during each concert he's had on this tour, so I don't think there is enough going on between Drake and Travis yet to say that they are in a full-fledged beef like others are, but still. Looking at how Travis was all over We Don't Trust You and knew about the full wrath of the Kendrick diss, I would bet that at least on some level, there is a degree of tension between the two that definitely could escalate into something bigger. Now, just like Travis Scott, another rapper who nobody would have ever imagined would beef with Drake is Rick Ross, and while we don't know what
the hell is Rick Ross doing in this damn beef, bro?
caused Drake and Ross to turn on each other after over a decade of iconic collaboration.
No,
after Ross also appeared on Future and Metro Boomin's album on the track Everyday Hustle. We do know that Drake didn't take this team up well, as when he stopped in Ross's home state of Florida on his Big Is The What tour, he apparently invited out one of Rick Ross's exes to his show, and as a response to this, Ross then posted a video of him listening to Kendrick Lamar's verse on Like That, which pretty much seals the fact that he has also turned on Drake, and while everything else about this beef is up in the air,
bro,
I think the fact that Drake invited out Rick Ross's ex really confirms that beyond this feud, Future did indeed turn on Drake because of a girl, just like We Don't Trust You's self-titled intro track alluded to, and this shows us while some people like Kendrick Lamar are coming at Drake because of musical beef, with Future and now Rick Ross, their problems with Drake seem to be much more personal than this. Now, speaking of personal,
it's getting exciting, bro. I can't wait for this shit he finna drop, bro. He's dropping the response, bro.
Beef. One rapper who, if he ever decides to actually drop his next album, I am sure will be filled with plenty of disses for Drake, is A$AP Rocky. Now, with Drake and A$AP Rocky, ever since Rocky married Rihanna and destroyed Drake's hopes and dreams of being with the girl he had gotten curved by for years, Drake has not let it go, and as time has went on, seems like he's only gotten more rotten and petty about it actually, with projects like For All the Dogs and Scary Hours 3 having way too many subliminals about Rihanna and her relationship with Rocky for A$AP not to respond, and on Kid Cudi's album Insano, Rocky officially clapped back at Drake with lines on the song Wow as he taunted Drake about the fact that he's living in his head rent-free and that he stole the girl of his dreams. Now again, with a beef like this, I think it shows how easily Drake's able to make enemies with rappers just by being extremely petty with everything he does these days, and with this way that Drake is constantly rapped about Rocky, Rihanna, and their relationship. I think this only adds further validity to why Rick Ross and Future also turned on him. Now when it comes to Drake's pettiness, This is why he also has beef with Megan Thee Stallion, as ever since he name-dropped her on his song Circle Loco out of nowhere, people have wondered why Drake would even pick a fight with her, but as Drake has so many other rappers he needs to worry about actively moving against him, and Megan Thee Stallion recently focusing her efforts on Nicki Minaj. It seems like while Meg will definitely continue to despise Drake, as she has been very vocal about this both in interviews and even through some potential subliminal disses on songs, I don't see this beef escalating anymore from here.
Bro,
now,
Drake
a feud that no
fucking,
matter what is going to
damn.
exist for eternity is Drake versus Kanye West, and with these two, the beef's gotten so complicated at this point that you could make an entire series about it, but recently, despite everybody thinking that this beef was over when Ye and Drake made up and did an entire concert together, it was not, as Drake dissed him less than a year later on Her Loss, and following this, Drake threw even more shots at him on For All the Dogs and Scary Hours 3, and after all this, while Kanye West's latest album, Vultures, did not contain any direct lyrics or subliminals geared towards Drake, when the album's hit song Carnival went #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Kanye cursed out Drake in a celebration post as he was seemingly livid at him for taking Lil Durk on tour during the height of the Vultures rollout, and then, following the release of Kendrick's verse on Like That, as everybody was debating about the big three, Kanye of course had to insert himself into the conversation, both calling out Kendrick Lamar, but more importantly Drake, as Ye said that he watched him when they performed together in 2021, and I'm pretty sure eventually Drake will respond to Ye with another subliminal diss, as you can pretty much expect him to drop at least one on every album he releases, but at this point, this is all the beef is ever gonna be. Ye and Drake are just gonna keep going at each other in the most random ways possible, and I doubt that either of them would ever release a full-fledged diss track on the other, despite how interesting it would be to see them challenge each other's pen games. Now, as people wait for Drake to respond to anybody who's called him out, one of the reasons why many people, including myself, believe that he is hesitant to clap back at anyone challenging him is because of the absolute mayhem that Pusha T unleashed on him back in 2018 with the story of Adidon, and despite Push unanimously destroying Drake, for some reason, this beef has still raged on, and not on Push's end, but on Drake's, as on tracks like Jack Harlow's Churchill Downs and even his own Scary Hours 3 project.
Bro,
he continues to taunt Push with subliminals, but why? Push has absolutely nothing left to say after humiliating him by telling the world he was hiding a kid and then causing him to have an entire shoe deal with Adidas fall through, yet despite this massive L, Drake keeps throwing jab after jab at Push despite the fight being well over and Drake getting knocked out. The fact that Drake is still trying to provoke Push really just shows that he is delusional, and while his reputation may be in the mud for many hip-hop heads because of this very feud, he would still rather cause up controversy and create buzz any way he possibly can rather than embrace defeat like most MCs would. Now, while Drake beefing with Pusha T is still the most pathetic beef he has going on, when it comes to the strangest feud that Drake has brewing, it is with none other than his fellow Toronto native Nav, who seemingly unfollowed Drake after the release of Metro Boomin and Future's We Don't Trust You, which may be seen as Nav taking the side of Metro Boomin, who he did release an entire collab album with in the past. Now, it's pretty surreal that one of the producers on Drake's show-stopping Meek Mill diss track back-to-back has now seemed to cut ties with him, but considering Nav's stature as pretty much a joke in the rap game, while Drake is dodging a lot of competition, he's already clapped back at his fellow Toronto native with an Instagram post that's caption featured some lyrics from his track Turks, and while if Drake replies back to any of his other competition with some Instagram captions, it would be pretty pathetic. Considering Nav started this beef on social media, it only makes sense that Drake would continue the absolutely least threatening feud he's in there as well, and with all that, you can see that Drake has more rappers than ever challenging him, and while some may write this off and say that this is simply a product of Drake being at the top of the rap game, when you look at why everyone has sided against him, you see that this is not the case. Whether it's Drake taunting rappers who the entire culture knows
and doing what everybody wants him to do, and that's get all these
are way more skilled than him, or it's Drake's own pettiness and selfishness destroying some of his most cherished relationships in the industry. When you look at why everyone from Kendrick Lamar and Future to Kanye West and A$AP Rocky are all at odds with the OVO rap,
a whole list of variety.
It's because of the ridiculous way that he conducts himself, his music, and his brand, without making fun of genuine creatives for taking time off to say something meaningful in their music, throwing out unwarranted subliminals just to create buzz, and whining about the girls you lost out on. The very formula Drake relies on to make hit album.
And I think we're doing a little eating right now. You're eating it a little bit. You're fucking munching it, buddy. All right, you know he does his job.
After hit album would crumble.
You know, I understand what you're saying.
All you could say about
munching.
the position Drake is in is that he has traded any ounce of respect that his peers had for him in exchange to do the one thing only that it seems like he cares about: sell records. So as what feels like the entire rap game moves against Drake,
on his
despite whatever problems put these beefs into motion in the first place, he does have a chance to disprove anything his rivals or the culture as a whole is saying about him, but as he has yet to clap back at anyone aside from Nababall, all we can do is sit and wait and see what happens as his image is being tested like it never was before. So now, let me ask you. Do you think Drake deserves to be in all of the feuds that he's in, or do you think these rappers are just jealous of his greatness? Leave a comment below and let me know, and if you want to see what rappers dropped the best albums between Kendrick Lamar and Drake during the
Drake, fuck Kendrick, fuck K-Dot, bro. Like and subscribe, bro. It's Team OVO around here, bro. He can beef with all these niggas. Who gives a fuck? He's Drake, nigga. He gonna clap back. Catch you in the next one.